The stars over Vega 9 were quiet, like little lamps floating in black water. Far away from Earth, the moon Vega 9 was home to a peaceful research base. The humans had come there not to fight, but to study. The place was rich with unknown minerals, and scientists hoped it would help improve Earth's energy supply. But danger was always nearby in space, even when everything seemed calm. Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the platform, watching the horizon. He was a tall man, strong and serious, with eyes that had seen too many battles. He wasn't just a soldier. He was a survivor of Earth's last war with the hostile species called the Zalari. He didn't trust peace. Not out here. Behind him, scientists worked inside silver domes, unaware that their time was almost up. "Captain," said Lieutenant Baines, walking up with a tablet. "No signals. Still quiet." "That's the problem," Elias said. "Too quiet." Suddenly, alarms screamed. In the sky above, black ships broke through the clouds like knives. The Zalari had arrived, and they weren't here to talk. Laser blasts fell from the sky, hitting the ground with thunder. One of the domes exploded, flames reaching for the stars. Elias didn't hesitate. "Get the scientists to the escape pods now!" he shouted into his comm. The soldiers moved fast, guiding civilians to underground tunnels. Panic spread quickly. The Zalari weren't just attacking, they were invading with full force. Hundreds of troops in glowing armor landed across the base. They moved like machines. No fear, no mercy. Elias grabbed his plasma rifle and led a group of defenders toward the control tower. It was the main brain of the outpost. If it fell, the rest wouldn't last long. "We hold here," Elias ordered. "Give the others time to escape." The battle was brutal. Bullets and laser beams flew in every direction. Explosions shook the ground. Elias moved like a shadow, hitting enemies with perfect shots. He covered wounded soldiers, helped civilians. Get through blocked exits and never backed down. Above them, the Zalari flagship hovered like a giant metal beast, and inside it was the Queen herself. Queen Rylessa watched from her throne room. Her face was cold, her golden eyes full of pride. She wore a crown made of bone and light. For her, this was not just a mission. It was a message. The humans would no fear. She gave the final order. "Destroy the tower." One of the largest enemy cannons turned and aimed at the control center. Elias saw it too late. The beam hit the building like a sun exploding. Fire and steel crashed down. The roof gave way. Smoke covered the sky. From the escape pod station far away, Dr. Kaylin Reese watched the tower fall. Her heart stopped. Elias had still been inside. "No, Elias," she whispered. The remaining humans launched their pods. One by one, the small ships fled into space. They didn't know if Earth would hear their calls. They didn't know if they would survive. All they knew was Elias Ward, the brave captain who gave his life to save them, was gone. The official report was written quickly. Captain Elias Ward, presumed killed in action. Earth mourned. Soldiers saluted. His name was added to the Wall of Heroes. But the story wasn't over. Beneath the rubble, somewhere deep under the ruined base, something stirred. A weak signal blinked in a cave of metal and smoke. Elias was alive, barely. He was trapped, bleeding, bones broken, but his eyes were open. He refused to die. Strange sounds echoed around him. He wasn't alone. Out of the shadows came machines, old, rusted, with glowing blue eyes. They were not human. Not Zalari. They were something forgotten. Long ago, they were part of a different war. Ancient AI creations, hiding for centuries below the moon's surface. Their mission was to survive. One of them bent over Elias. It scanned him, then spoke in a soft voice. "Human, you are hurt. We will heal." Elias passed out. For many days he slept in a strange bed, covered in soft light. The machines worked, without rest, rebuilding his broken body, not just healing, but improving. His blood carried nanotech, his eyes gained sharper focus, his muscles, faster reflexes. He had become something new. When he awoke, the machine leader spoke. "You are not like the others. You chose to protect. We have chosen you." "Why?" Elias asked, weak but awake. "There is a prophecy of one human who would bring down the queen of the Zalari. We believe it is you." Elias didn't believe in prophecy, but he believed in war, and he knew Earth wasn't safe. "How long have I been here?" he asked. 3 months, the machine replied. 3 months. Long enough for the Zalari to grow bolder. Long enough for Earth to forget him. But Elias hadn't forgotten anything. He stood up, looking into the mirror. The man staring back was still him, but sharper, stronger, colder. He was a soldier reborn. "I'm going back," Elias said, "and I'm not going to hide." The machines gave him tools, armor, and knowledge. Then they opened a hidden door leading to the surface. Elias walked through it alone under the stars. Somewhere out there, the queen thought he was dead. She was wrong. 3 months after the fall of Outpost Vega, most people in the galaxy believed Captain Elias was dead. Even Earth Command had held a ceremony in his memory. They didn't know he had survived, rebuilt by ancient machines and reborn with new strength. He moved in shadows now, silent and careful, hunting for answers. The Zalari believed they had won. Queen Relessa sat on her golden throne, confident and proud. She had destroyed a human outpost and sent a message to the galaxy. But she had also made a mistake. She didn't check if her enemy was truly gone. Elias was alive and he was moving through space. He wore dark armor made by the old AI machines. It was light, silent, and full of hidden systems. He could jump higher, run faster, and disappear like smoke. His face was always covered. No one knew who he was, only that something had started attacking Zalari patrols. Quiet missions. Small strikes. Never seen, never caught. People started whispering. A ghost is hunting the Zalari. Some say it's a human. No, the humans don't have warriors like that. But it was true. It was Elias. He had started with small targets, supply stations, spy ships, listening posts. He used stolen codes from the machines on Vega 9 to sneak into systems. He never left a trace, only wreckage and silence. Every mission gave him new data. Every attack brought him closer to his true goal. He wasn't just fighting, he was searching for something. A weapon. The Zalari were building something terrible. The AI machines had told him a little about it before he left. It was called Project Sundragon, a star-powered superweapon, strong enough to destroy Earth in a single strike. Elias had to stop it, but Earth Command didn't believe his secret messages. They thought they were fake. "Elias Ward is dead," they said. "Someone is playing tricks." Only one person believed the messages were real, Dr. Kaylin Reese. Kaylin had escaped Vega 9 because of Elias. She had worked with him, trusted him, and respected him deeply. When she saw the encrypted codes only Elias knew, she knew he was alive. Kaylin worked in a science station near Mars. She had access to data, ships, and communication lines. But Earth Command ignored her warnings. They thought she was chasing ghosts. So Kaylin made a decision. She went rogue. She left the station quietly, using an old scout ship and her own savings. She followed the clues, the pattern of attacks, and the trail of destroyed Zalari bases. She believed she would find Elias, and she was right. Far across the stars, Elias stood on a cliff, looking down at a ruined Zalari fortress. Smoke rose from the broken towers. His armor was scratched, but his eyes were sharp. He was getting closer. He had found a map showing the weapon's final location, deep inside the Hive world, the home planet of the Zalari. It was nearly impossible to enter. The Hive world was covered with energy shields and guarded by millions. But Elias didn't care. He had a plan. He looked up at the sky. A transport ship passed silently. A Zalari troop carrier. His next ride. Later that night, the transport landed on a border moon. The guards walked off. They didn't see the shadow that followed them. One by one, Elias took down the crew without a sound. He copied their armor. He changed his voice pattern. He used the old AI tech to mask his human heat signature. When the ship left, Elias was inside, pretending to be one of them. He was going to the hive world. While Elias flew deeper into enemy space. Kaylin landed on the border moon hours later. She was too late to catch the transport, but she found the signs: a hacked door, missing guards, and a broken camera. Her heart beat fast. "Elias," she whispered, "you're still ahead of me." She began fixing the ship's systems. She didn't have his strength, but she had a smart brain, and she knew where he was going. Back on the Zalari flagship, Queen Rylessa sat in her throne room. She smiled while looking at a giant hologram of Earth. Her plan was almost ready. The weapon would be charged soon. She didn't care about the small attacks. She thought they were nothing. "Fools," she said. "They run like insects." Then an officer ran into the room. "My queen." Another base was hit last night. Same signs. Silent attack. No survivors. Rylessa's smile faded. And the cameras? Broken. Again. She stood slowly. Her gold armor shimmered in the lights. "Find out who this is," she ordered. "Now!" As the officers rushed out, the queen looked at the stars beyond her ship. "Ghosts don't kill my men," she whispered. "Something is wrong." But it was already too late. The ghost was inside her world. On board the troop carrier, Elias stood among the Zalari soldiers. None of them noticed the human in disguise. He kept his face hidden, his hands still, his mind calm. He had memorized their language, their movements, their habits. He walked like one of them. The ship passed through the hive world's energy shield and entered the atmosphere. From the window, Elias saw the planet below. Huge hives, black towers, lava rivers, and glowing lights. It looked like a nightmare, but he was ready. He had one goal now: reach the heart of the hive world and stop the weapon. As the ship landed, Elias whispered quietly to himself, "Soon, Rylessa, you'll see I'm not dead. You'll see what one human can do." Far behind him, Kaylin entered her ship's coordinates. Her engines flared. "Wait for me," she said softly. "I'm coming." Elias Ward stepped off the troop transport with quiet steps. Around him, hundreds of Zalari soldiers marched through the landing bay. The air smelled like smoke and metal. Everything was sharp, hot, and dark, like the planet itself. This was Hive World, the center of the Zalari Empire. It was a place no human had ever reached before, but Elias wasn't here to visit. He was here to destroy a weapon. He wore stolen Zalari armor, dark and tight-fitting. The old AI machines had hidden special tech inside it, tools that blocked scanners, altered heat signatures, and masked his voice. Even up close, no one could tell he wasn't one of them. He had learned their language and their ways. Every step he took was careful. Every glance, every move, planned. He had only one chance. As he moved through the main gate of the city, he saw how massive Hive World really was. Giant towers made of black stone rose into red skies. Lava rivers flowed between roads. Flying patrols buzzed overhead like insects. On the walls were banners showing Queen Rylessa's symbol, sharp wings around a burning star. This was her world. But something felt strange. Even in this powerful place, the people didn't seem strong. He passed Zalari workers with tired eyes. Soldiers stood guard with less focus than expected. A few citizens whispered in corners, away from patrols. Elias noticed it quickly. There was fear here, But not just fear of war. There was fear of their own queen. He followed a group of soldiers into a training center. Inside, large screens showed images of human colonies and Earth's defenses. The commanders spoke about preparing for final war. In one corner, Elias saw a different image, a large glowing structure deep underground. That had to be it. Project Sundragon, the weapon. Elias made a quiet note of the location, Sector 7, core facility. He left the training center quickly, pretending to receive a call. Once outside, he used his hidden device to scan the city map. It was there, deep beneath. The Queen's Palace. He had to find a way underground, but the area was locked with bioscanners, only open to high-rank officials. He needed a new identity. Later that night, Elias slipped into a quiet alley between two metal towers. A Zalari officer walked by, alone. He moved fast. One quick strike, to the back of the neck. Silent, clean. Elias dragged the officer into the shadows and scanned his body. With the AI tools, he copied the man's ID data and built a new mask. Now, Elias had full access to the underground level. He entered the palace the next morning, calm and confident. Inside, the walls were lined with bright blue lights. Guards bowed when he passed, believing he was an elite officer. He nodded back, never speaking too much. Deeper inside, he reached the entrance to Sector 7. Two guards blocked the door. "Security check," one of them said. Elias handed over the ID badge. The guard scanned it, then paused. "You were not scheduled for this shift," the guard said. Elias smiled under his mask and replied in perfect Zalari, "Change of orders. Direct from the throne." The guards looked at each other. One of them sent a message to the control center. Elias's heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. Seconds later, the message came back. Approved. The door opened with a hiss. He was in. Inside Sector 7, Elias found a huge elevator that led deep underground. He stepped in alone, and the doors closed. The machine dropped fast, deeper and deeper, until the light from the surface vanished. When the doors opened, he stood before a long tunnel glowing with red light. At the end was the weapon, Project Sundragon. It was massive, shaped like a spear, floating in a chamber of energy. It pulsed with power drawn from the heart of a captured star. Giant cables ran from it into control panels, reactors, and cooling systems. Around it, teams of scientists and engineers worked without rest. Elias stepped forward, scanning the systems with his visor. He had seen weapons before, but nothing like this. It was a star cannon. Once fired, it could destroy an entire planet. From across the galaxy, Earth was the target. He opened his hidden wrist console and began recording everything. The design, the code, the energy flow. He needed to find a weak point. A way to stop it. Suddenly, an alarm rang out. One of the engineers had noticed something strange in the energy field. Elias looked up and saw it too. A blinking light he hadn't placed. Another hacker was in the system. He traced the signal. It was Kaylin. She had reached Hive World. Somehow she had found a back door into the Queen's network. She was trying to overload the cooling system. Elias smiled. Smart, just like always. He tapped into her signal and sent her a message. "I'm here. Don't trigger it yet. I need 10 more minutes." On her ship hidden in orbit, Kaylin gasped when she saw the message. Her hands shook. "Elias!" "You're alive," she replied. "Understood. I'm waiting." Back in the chamber, Elias found a pressure core. Small, hidden under the power lines. If it overloaded, the weapon would shut down and collapse. He planted an explosive charge made from AI tech, silent, invisible to scanners. Just as he finished, a voice echoed through the room. "Stop him!" Elias turned. The Queen's personal guards had entered. One of them removed his helmet and pointed. "That's no Zalari!" That's a human! Chaos erupted. Elias fired first. His shots were fast and perfect. He moved like lightning, dodging lasers, striking with perfect aim. Alarms screamed as guards flooded the chamber. Elias ran toward the exit, fighting every step. His armor took hits, sparks flying off his chest, but he never stopped. He reached the elevator and hit the button. It didn't move. Locked. He grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and blasted the controls. The doors opened and he jumped in. As it rose, he sent one final message to Kalen. Trigger. It. Now. Kalen pressed the command. The chamber below filled with white light. Systems failed. Engineers screamed. The Sun Dragon weapon glowed, then cracked. Explosions tore through the room. Elias reached the surface just as the palace shook. Fire shot into the sky. He had done it, but the queen now knew the ghost was real. The air in the queen's throne room was thick with tension. Queen Rylessa stood tall, her golden eyes wide and sharp. Before her, bound and bruised, was the human she believed was lost forever. Captain Elias Ward. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, the queen's voice broke through like a sharp blade. "You were supposed to be dead," she said, stepping back in shock. Elias looked at her steadily. He did not flinch. His face was calm, but inside, fire burned. "You should have made sure," he answered quietly. The guards around them shifted nervously. The queen's power was great, but now it seemed fragile. "You survived the impossible." "How?" she asked. Elias shook his head. "It does not matter how. What matters is that I'm here, and your weapon is destroyed." Rylessa's eyes narrowed. "You will tell me how you escaped, or you will die here." Elias smiled faintly. "I've died more times than you know." The queen's anger grew. She raised her hand, and a glowing whip of energy formed, crackling with power. "Then you will die again." But Elias was ready. With a swift movement, he twisted free and knocked the weapon aside. The guards rushed forward. Suddenly, the doors to the throne room burst open. Soldiers poured in, but not the queen's loyal guards. They wore the same armor, but their eyes held doubt and fear. "This is a rebellion," Elias said. "Your empire is falling, Rylessa," the queen glared. "Lies!" A soldier stepped forward. "We no longer follow your orders, queen. We follow truth." Rylessa's pride cracked. "You will regret this," she hissed. Elias used the moment to move closer to the queen. "Why do you fear humans so much?" he asked. She looked away, her voice softer. "Because of a prophecy. Long ago it was said a human would end our reign, not with weapons, but by breaking our faith." Elias nodded slowly. "I am that human." "You are a ghost," she said, almost whispering. "A shadow in the dark." "But I am real," Elias said firmly. "And so is hope." At that moment, a loud explosion shook the palace. Fires blazed outside. The weapon's destruction had sent shockwaves through the city. Kalen Reese entered with a group of rebels and engineers. Her eyes searched for Elias until she found him. "You came," Elias said quietly. "We did what we could," Kalen replied. "The queen's hold is weaker than you thought." Together they faced the queen. She stood alone, the last symbol of the old empire. Elias raised his voice so all could hear. "Your time is over, Rylessa. Surrender, and your people will be spared." The queen looked around. Her soldiers no longer obeyed. The people she ruled were tired and afraid. Slowly, she dropped her weapon. "I surrender," she said. Elias nodded. "It is over." The rebellion began to spread. Across Hiveworld, soldiers turned against their leaders. Citizens cheered for freedom. As Elias and Kalen prepared to leave, the queen called out, "Wait!" Elias turned. "Yes? Do not think. This is the end. Other enemies watch. The galaxy is not quiet." Elias met her gaze. "Then we will be ready." He and Kalen left the throne room, the palace falling into chaos behind them. Outside, the sun rose over Hive World. It was a new day. The human who was supposed to be dead was alive, and the galaxy had changed forever. The great hall of the Hive World Palace was no longer a place of fear. It was now a battlefield filled with shouts, clashing weapons, and the roar of rebellion. The Queen's control was slipping fast. Captain Elias Ward moved through the chaos, his dark armor shining under the burning lights. By his side was Dr. Kalen Reese, calm but ready. Together, they fought their way toward the throne room, where the Queen still held out. The rebels had taken control of much of the palace. Soldiers, who once followed Rylessa's orders, now stood beside Elias, their faces filled with hope and determination. This was no longer just a fight for power. It was a fight for the future. As they approached the throne room, the sound of the Queen's voice echoed down the halls. "You think you can break me?" she shouted. "I am the ruler of the Zalari. My empire will not fall." Elias pushed open the massive doors. Inside, the Queen waited, dressed in her golden armor, her eyes blazing with fury. "Elias Ward," she said coldly, "you have caused chaos in my empire. Why do you fight so hard?" He stepped forward, steady and strong. "Because your empire rules with fear. Because your people deserve better. Because humans never give up." Rylessa laughed bitterly. "You speak as if you understand us. But you are just a human, weak and fragile." Elias shook his head. "We may be fragile, but we are strong in ways you do not understand. We fight for hope, for peace, and for those we love." The Queen raised her weapon, a glowing staff that crackled with energy. She swung it toward Elias, sending a blast of light his way. Elias dodged quickly, closing the distance. The two clashed, a dance of light and shadow. Elias's training with the ancient AI machines showed in his movements, fast, precise, and full of purpose. Kalen stayed at the doorway, keeping watch for incoming enemies. Her eyes scanned the battle, ready to help. The fight grew fiercer. The Queen's power was great, but Elias was relentless. He dodged every strike, countering with bursts of energy from his armor. His goal was not to kill, but to stop her. Suddenly, the Queen called for reinforcements. The palace shook as more guards rushed in to protect her, but the rebels fought back fiercely. Led by Elias's soldiers, they formed a wall, holding the attackers at bay. In the middle of the battle, Elias saw an opening. The Queen stumbled. He raised his hand, sending a pulse of energy that knocked her staff aside. She fell to her knees. Elias looked down at her. "It's over, Rylessa." The Queen's eyes burned with anger and something else, defeat. "Why won't you finish this?" she asked quietly. Elias shook his head. "Because this war is not about killing one person. It's about changing a whole empire," he signaled to his soldiers. "Take her alive." The guard stepped forward and lifted the Queen gently. Elias turned to Kalen. "Let's end this." Together, they led the Queen out of the throne room. Outside, the rebels cheered. The empire was crumbling, but hope was rising. Elias spoke to the gathered crowd. "Today, we begin a new chapter, not just for humans, but for all who live under fear. We will build peace together." Kalen smiled. "We saved more than a planet today." Elias looked at the burning sky. "And the galaxy will never forget what humans can do." Earth was alive with hope. News of the rebellion on Hive World spread quickly through the galaxy. The Zalari Empire was no longer the unstoppable force it once seemed. Captain Elias Ward was no longer a ghost whispered about in fear. He was a hero known by many. Back on Earth, Elias stood before a large crowd at the Space Command headquarters. Soldiers, scientists, and leaders watched him closely. He was finally free to show his face to the world. His armor was gone, replaced by a simple uniform. The scars on his face told a story of struggle and survival. Elias spoke clearly. "I never fought for glory. I fought because our survival depended on it. Because humanity is stronger than any weapon, stronger than any empire that tries to crush us." Applause filled the room. But Elias did not seek applause. He looked beyond the crowd, to a future he wanted to build. Next to him stood Dr. Kaylin Reese. She smiled quietly, proud of the man who had survived so much. Together, they had faced impossible odds. Together, they would help shape the new peace. Zalari Rebellion had changed everything. Former enemies were now allies. Zalari rebels who had fought beside Elias and Kaylin reached out to humanity. A new council was formed, a group representing many species across the stars. Elias worked with the council, helping to build trust and understanding. He traveled to Zalari colonies, meeting those who wanted peace. The galaxy was still fragile, but hope was growing. One evening, Elias and Kaylin stood on the balcony of Earth's space station, looking at the stars. "Do you think they will really change?" Kaylin asked. Elias smiled softly. "They have to. The galaxy has seen what happens when fear rules. Now it will see what happens when hope leads." Kaylin nodded. "And what about us?" Elias took her hand. "We keep fighting for peace, for the future, for everyone." Far away, deep in space, a new message arrived at the council's station. It was a warning from a distant race watching. "The galaxy's changes closely. The humans have awakened," the message said. "Their strength is growing. The balance is shifting." Elias read the message carefully. He knew this was only the beginning. New challenges would come, new enemies might rise. But he was ready, because Elias Ward was not just a soldier. He was a symbol, the ghost who refused to die, the human who changed the fate of many worlds, and the galaxy would never be the same.